welcome back. July 10th, 2023, and we have a few things to talk about. First, I want to talk about this buoy that's going off in the northeast, which really has nothing to do with what we're going to be talking about. This buoy is off the east side of Boston, Massachusetts. You can see down here this little red blip. That is what set this buoy off. This could be anything from a boat hitting it, a shark biting it, but I find it interesting because of what I'm going to show you in the next couple frames. Let's not forget, just a few days ago, hundreds, in fact, over 400 people reported seeing a large meteor in the sky right in this area. Now, I'm not saying it has anything to do with this buoy, but the fact that all this stuff is happening in the northeast, it's just got my spidey senses going a bit, if you know what I mean. Now, that's just to start the video. I want to get into this earthquake that just took place down here in the Atlantic Ocean, where two other buoys sit and have not been set off, even though this was a large earthquake. Take a look at this. They have actually re-upgraded this earthquake after downgrading it from a 6.8, then it went to a 6.4, and now they are measuring this thing as a 6.6 at 10 kilometers in depth. That is very shallow. And this is a very large earthquake for this part of the world. In fact, I did a quick measurement from the epicenter of the earthquake, which is right here, to the closest landmass we could find. Even though they're basically calling it an Antigua-based earthquake, the closest landmass is right here, which is Anguilla, about 186 miles away. But again, keep in mind how shallow this quake was at 10 kilometers in depth. We've got Puerto Rico right here. So in my opinion, this thing hits pretty close to home, specifically the fact that it's not one of the quakes we usually see here in the North Atlantic Ocean. This is down south near the Lesser Antilles Islands, and this is nothing really new. We've been seeing a lot of bigger earthquakes in this area. In fact, I made a video talking about Jamaica being due for a large earthquake. In fact, Volcano Discovery has not even re-upgraded this earthquake yet. They're still calling it a 6.4 after it was downgraded from a 6.8. Then the USGS brings it back up to a 6.6. And now we have Volcano Discovery calling it a 6.4. And you can see here they're naming it closer to Antigua than they would that closer landmass that we just discussed. Now, as this earthquake took place, we were getting hit with solar wind at the exact same time. Scrolling down to this page here, you could see all the different people on these islands that reported feeling it. Each one of these little diamonds is a separate report of somebody coming onto the website and reporting the shaking all the way as far west as Puerto Rico itself. Again, that is because of how shallow this thing was. Now, I want you to take a look at this chart here, and you're going to see this blue mass right here. That was launched off the sun, and it is now clipping Earth at around exactly 7:10. That is today. So the Earth's magnetic field is feeling pressure from whenever that CME was. I believe I have a graphic of that as well. But it's not a coincidence that these large amounts of energy that come from the sun that then clip Earth, whether it's a light skim or if it's a direct hit, these things do impact the crust of the Earth and can cause earthquakes, which I believe is the situation that we have just experienced today on 7/10/23. All right, I just went ahead and I refreshed the Volcano Discovery page, and they are now also calling it a 6.6. This was 53 minutes ago, so this just happened. So we're definitely going to be getting a lot more reports about this. As you can see, it is still a confirmed 6.6 earthquake at 10 kilometers in depth. That's basically as low as it goes as far as a default depth when they can't figure out if it's been any more shallow than that 10 kilometers. Sometimes a few hours later, they do get a little more accurate. They could get to 6 miles, 5 miles, but still 10 kilometers. Very shallow. And during the filming of this video, you can see right here, there's already been an aftershock right here, also near Antigua and Barbuda. This is just north of the fault line, you could see here. So it makes sense as to why this earthquake would take place in this area. It's one of the weaker areas where fault lines lay. So not only was there a large M-class solar flare that took place just after July 7th, which I believe is the energy we just felt on the 10th, but today itself has been a pretty active day on the sun, which we're not going to feel for a few days, but this may cause very similar events. We've already had major radio blackouts due to that X-class solar flare from last week, and you just never know what this energy from the sun sun can do when the Earth's magnetic field is being bombarded with solar particles. And it usually depends on which part of the Earth is facing the sun at the time of the arrival of that solar wind. Now, one last theory I want to throw out to you before I let you guys go. You can see we have an invest here, a 40% chance of cyclone formation. Chances are it will not affect anything as far as land, which is why I would usually not talk about these. But what's interesting about this is that not only is it expected to form in the next 7 days, but may form on the 13th, which is when that energy from the sun is going to be reaching us. Now again, solar energy has not just been known to cause earthquakes or radio blackouts, but it's also been accused of enhancing weather. If you guys remember, a few months ago we had that large breakout of 50 plus tornadoes. That was also during a very large solar storm. A lot of those storms blew up out of nowhere, and I just want you to focus on the fact that today was a very high action day, July 10th. And now as we move over to the GFS, you're going to be wanting to look in this area right here, because this is the investor speaking of. As you can see right here, this is the X, and this is where they're expecting the storm to move. Now take a look at what happens as we move into time towards the 13th. This storm actually begins to form. As you can see right there, it pops up as 1007 millibars. It kind of dips down a little south. We can't be sure about where this thing's going yet based on all sorts of different factors at play. You really don't want to go past 5 days. That's why I'm sticking to the 13th. But we very well may be seeing a situation where when the 13th or 14th hits and those solar particles hit Earth, we could see this storm rapidly intensify. Not that it's going to do anything to land. I don't think it will at this point. But just keep your eyes on this sort of thing, because all it does is continue to prove that the sun does not just control things like the radio blackouts and earthquakes and weather. It does all sorts of stuff. It affects you and me as people. I can't tell you how many subs have reached out to me saying they have headaches, body aches, all sorts of physical things going on when the sun is beating down on us after solar storms. All right, my friends, I didn't mean to ramble on too long here, but here you have it, a 6.6 official right now. I believe it was a little bit bigger than that in the Atlantic Ocean, right on the fault line there, which could have easily been in the Caribbean Sea instead of outside into the Atlantic. But still a very large earthquake for this area, and we need to continue watching this area because this was a shallow quake and we should be expecting aftershocks after something like this takes place. All right, my friends, I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. Shout out to Canada. Any updates on this quake or anything that happens after this quake, I'll be right here to keep you posted on it. All right, my friends, take care. Bye-bye. Stop right there, my friends. If you have not already, click that subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell icon. Click all and you will get all notifications from this channel. And trust me, you won't be disappointed.